Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. The human brain is the most complex organ in our body. Unfortunately, our brains can be negatively impacted by stroke, injury, or disease. One of the most common impacts on our speech, which can result in a language disorder known as aphasia. Approximately 1 million Americans are affected by aphasia, yet most of us know very little about it. So to learn more, I'm joined by a former speech-language pathologist at the UVM Medical Center who has worked extensively with stroke and traumatic brain injury survivors. Karen McFeeters-Leary is also a lifelong singer with extensive choral experience. In 2014, Karen combined her professional skills, her passion for music, to start the Aphasia Choir of Vermont. As you're about to learn, the choir is a group of individuals who can sing despite having difficulty speaking, or in some cases, being unable to talk at all. Karen, good afternoon, and thanks for being with us.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me, Fran.
So before we get to the musical aspect, let's talk about the medical aspect. What is aphasia?
So aphasia is a partial or total disruption in someone's language skills. And by language skills, I mean a person's ability to verbal expression, their ability to find words, to put the words together, to create sentences, to answer questions, to participate in conversation. It can also result in impaired auditory comprehension skills. That refers to a person's ability to listen and understand the information they're hearing. And aphasia can also disrupt a person's reading and writing abilities. So it's a very, very frustrating communication impairment.
I bet. And what causes aphasia?
So our brains are divided into two hemispheres, right and left. And for most of us, especially those of us who are right-handed, we are left hemisphere dominant for language. So if someone suffers a stroke or traumatic brain injury in the left hemisphere of the brain, aphasia often results. I did bring a slide to talk a little bit more about the neurological end of this. Our brains, as I mentioned, are divided into two hemispheres, and each hemisphere has 4 lobes: a frontal lobe, temporal lobe, parietal lobe, and occipital lobe. And the frontal lobe is primarily in charge of our language skills. So if there is damage in that area of the brain, as I mentioned, someone will present with word finding difficulties. That's the hallmark of aphasia, having difficulty finding words. But they can also have difficulty, as I mentioned, understanding.
So you've spent 21 years at the medical center. So tell us what your professional work entailed during that time.
Yes. So I spent most of my career in the outpatient rehabilitation department at the UVM Medical Center. And so I routinely would evaluate and treat individuals who had suffered left hemisphere strokes or suffered left hemisphere brain damage. And so I would evaluate their language skills and then formulate treatment programs. I also worked with individuals who had voice disorders. But interestingly, whenever I would evaluate these individuals, the aphasia was evident and in varying degrees. Some had mild word finding problems, some had severe difficulty or couldn't speak at all. But interestingly, when I would check their singing skills, all of them could sing. They could all sing.
And 8 years ago, on your own time, you started the Aphasia Choir of Vermont. So tell us a little bit more about why a choir.
Yeah. So, in my professional career, I saw time and time again that these individuals had trouble talking, but they could sing. And being a lifelong singer, and I've been in choirs throughout my life, I thought to myself, why not get these individuals together and start a choir? I really wanted to focus on what individuals with aphasia can do versus what they can't. And I also thought, boy, let's promote fun. Let's have fun. I wanted to promote a sense of belonging, to enable social interaction. And I also knew from personal experience that when you're in a choir, it's fun to get ready for something, to prepare for something. So I wanted to promote a sense of purpose by preparing for and performing a public concert. And then I thought, wow, that concert could be a really important vehicle for educating the public about aphasia, for raising aphasia awareness in our communities.
So you also have a slide about the anecdotal benefits of this.
Yeah.
So
So as expected, when we got together, we had a ball. We have a ball. It is so much fun. But I also had a suspicion that it would have other benefits, and it has. A lot of individuals with communication impairments, especially severe to profound impairment, they suffer social isolation and depression. But bringing them together in song, like in this context that promotes expressive freedom, I've seen markedly increased moods, greater social interaction, friendships have formed. It's been a really great vehicle for mood elevation. And now I've also noticed, and people have reported, that after the 12-week choir program, their loved ones have a little bit of an easier time speaking. So improved verbal expression has also been an anecdotal benefit. Some have reported gains in family relationships. After one of our concerts, the son of a couple in the choir came up to me and said, "Hey, I want to thank you. My parents are laughing in the kitchen again." And for some, they're not, maybe they've been singers in the past, so they're able to reconnect with their former talents or interests. So it's just had a lot of wide-reaching benefits, and it has been very, very fun.
The arts can be so powerful to healing. I just love this story. And the Aphasia Choir of Vermont is hosting a free concert this coming Sunday, June 12th. So let's see and hear the choir at one of its rehearsals when it was just being formed.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just to love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Not just for some, but for everyone.
Wonderful song and performance. So Karen, how is it possible that a person who has trouble talking can sing?
Great question. So as I mentioned earlier, the left hemisphere is primarily in charge of language. And so when damage occurs in that hemisphere, aphasia results. But let's talk about the right hemisphere of the brain. That's where music primarily lives. It's the right hemisphere of our brains that's primarily in charge of music, our ability to sing, to perceive familiar melodies, to recall melodies. So for these individuals, they are tapping into the undamaged hemisphere of their brains. And that's what's enabling that greater fluency, that ease of expression. In fact, one choir member, after his first year with us, he said in a broken manner, but he said, "When I sing, I feel free."
And your choice of songs is great. They're classic, they're inspirational, and maybe they bring up some of those memories.
Absolutely. The age range in the choir, we have a member as young as 38, and it reaches up to the age of 85. So every year I'm challenged to pick songs that are familiar, that have positive themes. You're seeing a picture of the group in 2019. We started out in 2014 with 11 brain injury survivors. And in this picture in 2019, 25 stroke and traumatic brain injury survivors with aphasia. But I try to choose songs primarily from the 60s and 70s, like Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles, Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond, Hello Dolly, A Daydream Believer, Let It Be. But I try, so primarily from the 60s and 70s, but I do incorporate some older songs and some newer. This year we're doing I Can See Clearly Now, one of my favorite songs from 1969. And we're also doing Singin' in the Rain, which is a great tune from the 1950s. So,
well, and you received some very high recognition. So tell us about your Hero Award from the American Stroke Association.
Yes, in early 2020, we were so proud and honored to receive the American Stroke Association's 2020 Stroke Hero Award for Outstanding Group. What an honor. And they selected us because of our resilience, our growth, our progress as a group, and also for our efforts to inspire and educate the public about stroke and aphasia. So that was a tremendous honor. And it came at a great time because we had just found out that we had to cancel our 2020 program because of COVID. And then we received that award. It was such an uplift.
Exactly. Wonderful. So let's take an opportunity also at this time to share with viewers how to spot a stroke.
Yes, this is very, very important. We have an acronym, FAST. So the F in FAST stands for face. So if you're with a friend or loved one and you notice one side of their face drooping, that can signal a stroke. The A in FAST stands for arm. So if you have them hold up their arms and one arm drifts downward, that signals arm weakness, and that can also signal a stroke. The S in FAST stands for speech difficulty. So if you're talking with a loved one or friend and suddenly they're having trouble finding words or their speech is garbled, that can signal stroke. And the T stands for time. It's very, very important if you think someone is having a stroke to call 911 or to call a physician or the hospital. You can't waste any time. It's very, very important.
And very quickly, I mentioned the upcoming choir concert, so give us some quick details.
Yes, so we do have a choir coming up this Sunday, a free outdoor concert. It will be at the Milton Outdoor Performance Center in their band shell. It starts at 2 o'clock. Bring a blanket or a camp chair to sit on. We promise it will be informative, inspiring, and that you will know and love the songs that we will be performing.
Great. And I also want to mention, Karen, that you are a singer and songwriter who has just put out your 4th CD of original contemporary folk music. Your most recent album is called Bonfire, and it serves as a fundraiser for the choir. So to learn more about aphasia, you can go to aphasia.org. That's the home of the National Aphasia Association. And to learn more about Aphasia Choir of Vermont, including this Sunday's concert, you can go to Karen's website. That's at KarenMcFeeters.com. Again, that's KarenMcFeeters.com. Karen, thank you so much for talking to us about this, and we hope that you get the support of the community. Certainly you have the support of the Stroke Association. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Fran. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.